Hey up YouTube, back again with another how Russ ties rigs wrong video. I don't know, because I've not put any of these out yet, so I don't know what the feedback's like. But in this one, we're going to be doing a Paternoster rig, or my take on a Paternoster rig. I don't know, I was given a Paternoster rig by Shane, the Holderness Cod Father. Do go over and check his channel out. To copy. That he was doing really well on the smooth hounds, the rays. I think he even had a couple of bass and whiting on it as well. It's just a one hook Paternoster rig. In that instance, that had a hair on it. I'm not going to tie the one. I'm not going to tie it with a hair today, because, well, I'm not. I'm quite sure you would know how to tie a hair. But what I am going to tie is a circle hook on the bottom, using a fiddly knot. I'll try and show it, but we'll see. So I'll roll the credits and we'll go from there. Okay, so these are the components that I'm going to be using today for the pulley rig. Apologies for the jittery camera work. So we've got some power gum, some beads, and then I use Trident components. Or in my personal rigs, I use Trident components. So we've got a roto clip, a Thermalink, then we've got a 45-pound snood swivel from Gemini, and a 100-pound power swivel from Gemini. Then we've got some rig springs, also from Trident, actually, that. Bit of rig tubing and a crimp, also from Trident. The line I'm going to be using for this particular rig is going to be some 60-pound Assault Ultraflex for the rig body and some 20-pound Amnesia, just in red, just because it's what I've got. I don't think actually that the colours make a lot of difference in murky water like what we have on the Lincolnshire coast. It's not often we fish in clear water, but I am told that red disappears quicker and clear's clear, isn't it? So, you know. Bead choices, for me, I think it's irrelevant. And it should be that far, on this particular rig, your bead choices should be that far away from the rig body, or the bait, that it shouldn't make any difference. So this is how I tie it. So I'm aiming for about a 3-foot rig body. So in this instance, I'm going to clip myself about 3.5 foot of rig body, and I'm going to start from the main line connection down. So I'll start by putting on the power swivel. For me, that's what I connect my rigs to my main line with. I know other people do things differently. They'd put a Thermalink at both ends. I just use a swivel. I find it cuts down in choppy water. I find it cuts down on the amount of times the rig wraps around itself, especially something like a Paternoster. Right, so a 4-turn uni knot is generally my go-to knot. I know people have their preferences. I know all my rig tying videos are going to be saying, oh, this knot, that knot, but I've never had a uni knot itself fail on me. So that's what I use. Okay, so that's going to be the attachment point to the main line. Working backwards from there, we go on with a crimp. Now the crimp, some people might say is unnecessary. I like it, and I'll explain why when it comes to crimping it down. Then we'll go with a bead. Now the only importance with your bead is that they're not going to slip over the crimp, and they're not going to slip over the spring. So bead, swivel, that's your snood swivel, the 45-pounder. Then another bead. And then a rig spring. Once again, it's a bit of an embellishment, but I like it on there, the rig spring. You could go very simple and just use a crimp swivel, but I like it. I find it serves a purpose. And then a final bead. And now at this point in tying the rig, I'm going to put a top knot just underneath there. So I'll tie that on, and I'll come back to you once it's tied on, and I'll show you the components in the order they are on the rig. Right, so the components on the rig. So we've got the the main line attachment point, the swivel. Not taking any tag or ends off or anything off yet. Then we've got crimp, bead, swivel, bead, spring, bead, stop knot. If these videos are popular enough, and if enough people ask, I will happily do knot videos. I've got some black line and some, not black line, I've got some black paracord and some glow in the dark paracord, so I might be able to show something with a bit of contrast if enough people are interested. But when it comes to these knots, the stop knot and the uni knot, there's hundreds of videos out there for them both. So it's up to you. If you want me to do or try and do a video where I show it, then leave me a comment down below. And then on with the Thermalink. So the Thermalink for me is my attachment point for the lead, or in this case the rotor clip, which then leads to the lead. 2, 3, 4. Gob oil, the ever important gob oil. A pair of pliers just to grab the back of this with, to cinch it down. Make sure that's nice and tight. Okay, so now we're on to the hook snood. Now, because I've tied that 3 foot, or it's come out around about 3 foot, let's see what we've actually ended up with here. I've got marks on the bench. Oh, yeah, exactly 3 foot. So because I've tied that 3 foot and I'm not putting a hair on this one, I'm going to go for around about a 2.5 foot hook snood once it's done. So a little bit over 2.5 foot just to compensate for the knot. Clip that off. And this obviously, this attaches on to the small swivel that's currently sat behind the beans. You'll notice everything is still free flowing. Everything's still free flowing apart from where the stop knot is. And I've not cinched that down so it can move quite freely. It took me a long time to get my head around setting this rig up, and the order of operations for tying it, a lot longer than it should have done, to be fair. So now I put everything on, don't crimp anything, don't tighten anything down, and then I'll set it up and I'll show you how. 3, 4. This is the one knot that I'm dreading showing on camera, but before I tie the hook on and slide on this piece of rig tubing, once the video is done, I'll show you what that's for, or once I'm setting the rig up, I'll show you what that piece of rig tubing's for. It's a little embellishment that I add. I mean, the spring really is an embellishment, but it's a little embellishment that I add that for me just helps the rig be a little bit more user friendly and fish friendly, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to try and show this knot on camera. If for whatever reason it comes to editing this and this section of the video is complete garbage, I will cut it out. So this knot is very difficult, very, very difficult to try and show. But what you got is I've got the hook running the same direction as the tag length. Okay, now grab the back of the hook and the tag in that finger, bring the hook round, creating a loop in between my fingers. I'm not pulling it tight, there's a loop there, and then I wrap the tag end. I don't know the name of this knot. Okay, so camera overheated and shut off. Let's see if it'll let me record it this time. So close to the end as well. So yeah, hook running the same way as the tag end. All right, grab the tag end and the hook like that. This line's a little bent now because I've tried tying the knot 3 times and the camera shut off every time. So then just bring the line round and under the hook, creating a loop. So you see that there? There's a loop in there. Pinch that and then, oh, this knot's so fiddly. Wrap the tag end around the hook shank a minimum of 4 times. 3, 4, I'm going to go with 5. 5. Now everything's going to want to undo on you, especially if you're using these, if you're as fiddly as me with these little hooks and you're ham-fisted. So you try and grab the twists so that you've got those sticking out, and the tag end then goes back through this loop. Now you have to hold the tag end and pull that down, pull the main line, all right, away from the tag end. Now I find it easier just to grab this bit of tag end in my teeth and pull the knot down. Okay, just a little bit of finagling with this one. It's always the one you shoot, isn't it? Somebody wants to talk to me. Okay. That gives you a nice, neat little knot. And then I realise I've cocked up by tying the other end of this hook snood on. So I'm just going to snip it off because I've got plenty of line. And then the important part of this knot is to send this, the rest of the line through the front, through the back and out the front of the hook, at the eye on the hook. Okay, what that does is it means that when the fish takes the hook, the line is trying to make the hook twist, and that's what helps set these hooks. Now if you were using this hook for coarse fishing, what you could have done, as I'm sure many coarse fishermen know, is that tag end is what you run down to have your hair on. Us sea fishermen attach a hair to the hook, generally because we're using bigger hooks. But like I said, the hair is not what I'm doing in this video. If you want to see a hair, if you're that bothered, you can nip over to my TikTok. But it's just a case of attaching a piece of line to the hook that you then put a snap ring on, or you tie a loop into it so that it goes down into your lead clip. But that's all it is. This one, like I say, I'm not attaching one toe. This is just going to be a simple Paternoster. So I'm just going to reattach this hook length to the main line. 1 second. Oh, and I left the piece of rig tubing off. Oh well. Oh well, it's not going on this one. I keep forgetting to put them on. So I'm just going to tidy it up, take off some of these tag ends. I always leave a couple of mil on my tag ends. Just in case the knot does slip slightly. So I've not had it happen. This uni knot seems to work quite well for me. But now we're going to set this rig. Alright. And by set this rig, I mean we're going to make it so that it's clipped down. So we'll put the hook in the put the hook in the roto. So the hook is now captive inside the roto. I'm pulling the 2 lines tight together. We're going to set this hook length, and what we're aiming for is for there to just be a little bit of tension on the spring. Actually, we're not far off there, actually. In fact, we are there. A little bit of tension on the spring. All right. When the rig is fully clipped down, and if it had its lead on it, it'd add a little bit of tension. So what we're going to do, since as that's all set up, now normally you'd move the stop knot up or down, depending on what you need to do. Now the reason I use a stop knot, I said I'd mention this when I was setting the rig up, is because if you end up like I just had to cut that hook off, just because I cocked up in tying it. If that had all been crimped down, so if I was fishing, for example, and the hook got blunted or snapped or twisted or bent, or you know, we lost the hook, let's say, or I had to cut the hook off. If that was all clipped and crimped and static, you then couldn't use that rig. You'd have to sling it, take it home, strip it down, and retie it with new hooks, new line, new works. But because of the way I have it set up, and you'll see now, I've tidied it all up, and I've tidied the stop knot and cinched it down. All right. Because of the way I tie it, if you need to take that hook off and you're out fishing, you can just tie a new one on and slide that top knot down and reset the rig. The reason, and the other thing I said I'd mention was why I put a crimp on. I purely put a crimp on so that this hook's length can't move too much when it's in the water, because I don't want it to be able to travel the full length of that. And if this rig ever has to be adjusted on the fly, and you're potentially giving it more room to travel, it's more room for the fish to take the bait and feel the hook. So yeah, and the other thing, the reason I like the spring is it adds a bit of tension to the rig, so that when you cast it and when it releases and hits the water, your bait and hook are sprung away from the rig body and the weight. It just makes for a better, in my eyes, a better setup on the seabed. Like I say, normally I would have actually added a piece of rig tubing, and where that would have gone on the rig is up here. So it would have gone up here and gone half over the swivel. All right, and that once again just increases that tension just ever so slightly on the hook length, and will help kick it away from the rig body, thusly in theory making it less noticeable to any fish. But yeah, that's my take on the Paternoster rig. Trying to keep these videos short and sweet. Don't forget, like, share and subscribe. More fishing content coming soon. I'm not just a East Coast angler anymore. I'm planning, whether it comes off, but I'm actually planning to go to the East Coast, to the West Coast this weekend. Although, depending on when this video comes out, that might have already happened. Yeah, so I hope you're liking these, hopefully short and sweet rig making videos. I will be doing one or two more. There's a couple of other rigs, the Wessex rig and the clip down rig, 2-hook clip down rig more specifically, and there is the pulley rig, which you may or may not have already seen, depends on which order I release these videos in. But don't forget, please do like, share and subscribe. If you've any comments on the rig, if you've any questions about the rig, if you'd like to order any rigs, you can either talk to me in the comments down below, or you can find me on Facebook, Russ One Man. Until next time guys, stay safe, tight lines, and I'll see you later.